Africa has a very peculiar case when it comes to wealth. While the continent has the highest number of people living in poverty, the motherland is also home to a fast-growing elite class of new millionaires and billionaires. At the end of the last decade, the continent had a total of 23 billionaires and over 140,000 people with a net worth of at least $1 million. However, this is not the first set of crazy rich Africans. From powerful emperors to greedy dictators, over the past few centuries, Africa has produced some of the richest people to ever walk the planet. This video gives you a list of the top 5 richest Africans that have ever lived. Welcome to the channel, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you haven't done so already. Number 5. Aliko Dangote. With an estimated fortune of almost $15 billion, Dangote is currently the richest man in Africa, and he has held on to that title for 8 years running. The manufacturing magnate is also the 96th wealthiest man in the world and the richest black person alive today. Born into a wealthy Muslim family of traders in northern Nigeria, Dangote got his start with a small loan of $3,000 from his uncle. With these funds, he first ventured into importation, first with agricultural products and then with cement. In the 90s, Dangote shifted to manufacturing his own cement, taking advantage of Nigerian government policies that promoted home production and discouraged imports. To this day, many of his critics still accuse him of using his closeness to the government to gain an unfair market advantage in Nigeria. His conglomerate, Dangote Industries, now includes Dangote Cement, the largest cement producer on the continent, Dangote Sugar, which has the world's third largest sugar refinery, and a host of other manufacturing businesses in flour, salt, and other vital consumer goods. 2020 may be a big year for Dangote too, with the tycoon set to complete a massive refinery in Lagos, Nigeria, that will be able to produce 650,000 barrels of crude oil daily. On completion, Dangote's refinery will be the largest single-train refinery in the world. If all goes well for Dangote this year, he could rise higher up this list, making space for those of us that smashed the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Number 4. Hosni Mubarak. While you won't find them on Forbes' list, African dictators have always been some of the wealthiest people on the continent. Egypt's former president, Hosni Mubarak, might have just been the richest one yet, with an estimated net worth of $17 billion. The long-time Egyptian ruler was president of the country for 36 years before being ousted by the people in 2011. During this time, Mubarak, his family, and close friends allegedly enriched themselves through partnership with powerful Egyptian companies and just straight-up siphoning of public funds. Unfortunately, this is pretty much standard practice among African dictators and even many democratic presidents. The Mubarak family reportedly owns several properties around the world in top locations like New York, Paris, and London. Furthermore, the family is suspected to have amassed billions of dollars in secret foreign bank accounts. Nevertheless, like with all forms of illicit funds, it is difficult to determine the precise figure that the family owns. Some media reports and estimates from financial experts have pegged the estimated fortune of the family in a range of $40 to $70 billion, with Mubarak alone accounting for at least $17 billion. However, we do have to take these figures with a grain of salt, as they could be significantly lower or higher than the actual values. Nevertheless, the family fortune is indeed guaranteed to be in the billions, as Switzerland alone froze close to $1 billion of Mubarak's money after his regime fell. Number 3. Sani Ali. With many school textbooks barely scratching the topic of African history, it is no surprise that many people falsely assume that Africa was a land of primitive people before the colonial invasion by the Europeans. However, it is a fact that Africa has a rich history of several civilizations, massive empires, magnificent cities, and extensive commerce, and even some of the richest historical figures to ever walk the earth. One of such possessors of unspoken wealth is Hosni Ali, a 15th century ruler of the Songhai Empire, the largest African empire in history. Hosni Ali is considered the empire's most formidable military strategist and conqueror. During his reign, he brought the empire to its peak size of 1.4 million square kilometers, covering most of modern-day Mali, Niger, Guinea, and Burkina Faso. During his campaign for expansion, Ali gained control of critical trade routes and cities, as well as several port cities, giving him power over the commercial lifeblood of the entire region. The Songhai Empire also absorbed most of the gold-rich Malian Empire and eventually surpassed it in wealth. While it may be difficult to truly define and put an exact figure on the true wealth of Hosni Ali, like with many other emperors, ruling the most successful African empire ever guarantees that the resources under his control would easily surpass 50 billion in today's currency. Number 2. Muammar Gaddafi. Colonel Gaddafi, one of the more popular African strongmen, was a Libyan revolutionary and politician that ruled Libya from 1977. He remained in power until 2011 when he was ousted from power by NATO-backed rebels during the Arab Springs of that year. Consequently, the colonel was at one time the longest ruling national leader in the world. That is, if you exclude monarchs like Queen Elizabeth II. However, he may have also unofficially been the richest man in the world at his death, as some reports place his net worth at over $200 billion. Shortly after his regime was toppled, Libyan officials estimated that the deposed leader had at least $200 billion stashed away in secret bank accounts and shady investment deals. While this estimate by the Libyan government may be significantly exaggerated, there is at least some concrete proof that Gaddafi did have enormous funds under his control. During the Libyan uprising, the US alone froze over $30 billion in accounts under Gaddafi's control. A handful of European powers seized another $30 billion. However, many of these accounts were not Gaddafi's personal accounts, but were parts of the Libyan Sovereign Wealth Fund. Nevertheless, these accounts were under the full control of the colonel, and he reportedly spent and diverted funds from these accounts at will. Large sums could easily disappear from these accounts unnoticed as Libya generates massive oil revenues every single month. The country has the largest supply of oil in Africa and the 10th largest in the world. While it does sound crazy, if the quoted $200 billion estimate is correct, Gaddafi would have technically been richer than both Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos combined at his death. During his life, however, Gaddafi was a highly divisive figure that was almost as loved as he was hated. The colonel received awards and praise for standing up against imperialism and his support for Arab as well as African unity, as well as for the significant improvement that his government brought to the quality of life of the Libyan people. On the other hand, many opposed his social and economic reforms and condemned him as a dictator with an authoritarian regime that violated human rights and financed global terrorism. Number 1. Mansa Musa. No discussion about the wealthy historical figures can be complete without Mansa Musa, the 10th Sultan of the Malian Empire. Musa's wealth is so massive that I bet he could give the Black Panther and Wakanda a run for their money. In fact, it is nearly impossible to quantify the riches that this 13th century ruler amassed during his lifetime. The vastness of Musa's land and material holdings seem downright incomprehensible today. Imagine as much gold as you think a human being could possess, then double it. That is what all the historical accounts of this king try to communicate when describing his wealth. The most famous of these stories is that of Musa's pilgrimage to Mecca. Like the other Malian emperors before him, Musa sought to complete the Hajj pilgrimage required by Islam, but his journey was something different. Musa's voyage was something that the world was not ready for, and one absolute display of grandness that literally put his name on the map. In the year 1324, Musa set out from Mali, traversing the Sahara Desert to get to Arabia. According to accounts by several Islamic scholars, the emperor had tens of thousands of soldiers and slaves accompanying him on this journey of over 6,000 kilometers. In addition, some accounts report that the king had 500 special slaves just to announce his presence. These slaves wore luxurious Persian silk and carried a 6-pound gold staff each. Furthermore, this elaborate convoy was also littered with camels, horses, and other animals carrying hundreds of pounds of gold. On the way to Mecca, Musa was warmly welcomed by the Sultan of Egypt, who housed him in the palace for 3 months. And here, the true extent of his wealth revealed itself to the world. During his stay in Egypt, Musa spent and gave out so much gold that he actually depreciated the value of gold and caused an inflation in Egypt. Eventually, his continuous spending crashed the entire economy in Cairo, and it took them 12 years to recover. While there's no real way to put an accurate number on Musa's wealth, many reports speculate that he could have once owned up to half of the world's gold. Furthermore, some estimate puts his wealth at $415 billion in today's money, which would make him the richest man who has ever lived. While these figures may sound ridiculous today, it is not hard to fathom, considering the peculiar situation of his rule. Musa was the emperor of the Malian Empire, one of the largest African empires, during its most prosperous spell. At the peak of his rule, the Malian Empire was larger than Western Europe and regarded as one of the wealthiest states in the world. The Malian Empire was also a major center of worldwide international trade. In addition, Musa's West African kingdom was likely the largest producer of gold in the world, at a time where gold was in especially high demand. At that time, many European powers were struggling due to civil wars and a resultant lack of resources. Mansa Musa used his great wealth and massive power to help foster commerce, culture, and religion in the region. During his reign, Timbuktu, his capital, became a center of trade, culture, and Islam, attracting merchants and scholars from Hausa land, Egypt, and other African kingdoms, as well as people from as far away as Europe. So what does the people on this list say about Africa? If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. If you're new here, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Have a great day and see you in the next one, guys.